In the twilight hush of Asgard, when the golden towers no longer gleamed with midday brilliance and the mead halls quieted to soft laughter and the echo of distant harp strings, Odin stood at the edge of his balcony and listened to the silence. It was a rare thing in the realm of the gods. Asgard thrived in revelry, in stories, in thunder, in clashing of cups and clashing of egos. But tonight, all of that felt distant. The Allfather's heart was full, but not of joy and not of sorrow, of something quieter, a whisper. He had ruled for ages, seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth of heroes and the fading of stars. And yet, beneath all his knowledge, beneath all the runes he had carved into bark and bone, he felt an absence, a question without language, a hunger for meaning beyond even prophecy. And in that silence, in that moment suspended in golden dusk, he made a decision. Odin turned from the edge of his high seat. His ravens, Hugin and Munin, circled once, then landed on either shoulder. Thought and memory. They said nothing, but their presence was a question. He nodded slowly, answering what they did not ask. The halls of Valaskjaf were not empty, but they felt abandoned as he walked through them. Gods and goddesses still lingered in corners, but their conversations faltered at his approach. Frigg watched from afar, her brow furrowed with knowing. She said nothing. That was her wisdom. Thor was gone to battle. Loki nowhere to be found. The younger gods played, oblivious to the shift in the air. None dared ask where Odin was going. Perhaps they knew, or perhaps even gods grow silent when truth approaches. He descended the steps of Hlidskjaf and passed the golden gates without fanfare. No horns blew, no banners waved. He walked alone, staff in hand, cloak trailing behind him like a shadow made of night. Sleipnir remained in the stables. This was not a journey for haste or spectacle. It was a pilgrimage, a descent. The air changed as he passed from Tich. The road to Vanaheim was not paved in stone or guarded by gates. It unfolded beneath Odin's feet like a song forgotten by the waking world, a melody remembered only in dreams. It wound through whispering groves, over hills lined with wildflowers that bloomed in impossible colors, and past streams that hummed with ancient tunes. The ravens circled above, sometimes silent, sometimes crying out. A sound that echoed not in the air but in the soul. Vanaheim was not a place one stumbled into. It opened itself only to those who walked with patience, to those who sought without grasping. Odin, with each step, let go of the weight of Asgard, the names, the duties, the legacy. He did not need them here. In Vanaheim, the air itself rejected the burdens of hierarchy. At the edge of a silver field, Frey awaited him. He stood beneath a tree bent with fruit, his hands stained with the color of soil, his eyes lit not by divine fire but by the warmth of understanding. "You've walked far, All-Father," he said, his voice low and calm, like a stream in autumn. "I've barely begun," Odin replied. Frey handed him a piece of fruit. Odin bit into it. It tasted like memory, like the edge of a dream that slips away when morning comes. They walked together, not as king and subject, but as old friends reunited in quiet recognition. Frey spoke little. In Vanaheim, words were not currency. Presence was enough. The forest grew deeper. The light filtered through leaves like green glass. Trees here were not merely trees, they were witnesses. They had seen births and deaths, joy and despair. Their roots cradled the bones of forgotten gods. Their branches reached toward stars that no longer burned. In a clearing that smelled of lavender and fresh rain, Freya waited. She sat upon a stone covered in moss, her golden hair cascading around her like sunlight trapped in thread. She wore no crown, carried no weapon, and yet she was power incarnate. "Odin," she said, her voice like dusk, "you carry too." The path to Alfheim shimmered like heat rising off summer stones. It was not a road of dust or gravel, but of woven light, soft underfoot, endlessly unfolding. The closer Odin came to its border, the more the world brightened. Shadows grew thin and reluctant. The mist, which once curled at his feet like smoke, evaporated into golden haze. There was no gate, no threshold marked the boundary. One simply arrived. Alfheim opened before him like a sigh. The trees were impossibly tall, their trunks smooth and silver, their leaves like sheets of living emerald. They rustled not with wind but with song, notes that only hearts, not ears, could truly hear. The sky overhead was always twilight, soft, lavender, painted with clouds like silk. It was never day, never night, but something between. Forever dream. Light here behaved differently. It did not obey direction. It pulsed, it swirled, it gathered around beauty and wrapped itself around thought. Odin found himself glowing faintly, his robes catching colors they had never shown, his hands bathed in quiet luminescence. The light elves emerged not from paths, but from radiance. They were tall but not towering, slim but not weak, eyes that glimmered with starlight. Their skin held the hue of dawn. They wore no armor, carried no blades, and yet every step they took whispered of power that could undo worlds. But there was no pride in their movements, only grace. "Odin All-Father," one of them said, bowing slightly. "You seek the answers without form." Odin nodded. "Then walk with us, not to arrive, but to wander." He did. They passed through glades where flowers whispered secrets to the air, across bridges that hummed as they walked, past pools so clear, one could see the roots of the stars in their depths. No one spoke unless silence invited it. He asked no questions. They offered no teachings. Instead, they lived. One elf showed him how to move through a beam of sun without casting shadow. Another taught him to. The path from Alfheim to Midgard was not lined with glory. There were no songs to guide Odin, no ethereal beings to dance beside him. The road was earthen, solid, and cold beneath his boots. The light that had embraced him in the realm of the elves gave way to gray skies and wind-bitten trees. Here, the world did not hum with secrets. It groaned. Midgard greeted him without ceremony. There were no gods here, only men. The wind carried no runes, only smoke. Chimneys coughed up trails of ash. The scent of wood and coal lingered in the air. Children chased each other in muddy fields, their laughter raw and unshaped. Women bent over baskets of water. Men pulled carts through ruts carved deep by generations of passage. No one looked up at Odin. To them, he was a traveler, perhaps a vagrant, not a god. He walked through a village of stone and thatch. Chickens scattered at his feet. A black dog growled but did not bark. An old woman offered him a piece of bread from a cloth-wrapped bundle. He accepted it with a bow, though he had not spoken since leaving Alfheim. The bread was stale, tasted like kindness. By nightfall, Odin had found shelter in the corner of a barn. The farmer who owned it said nothing, only nodded. Hospitality was a custom here, not an act of faith. The hay smelled of earth and sleep. Outside, the rain tapped on the roof with fingers that knew the rhythm of sorrow. He lay awake, listening. In the distance, a child cried and was hushed. A cow lowed softly. A man coughed, deep and slow. These were the sounds of Midgard, not divine, not eternal, but real. The next morning, Odin helped gather firewood. He carried buckets. He sharpened a blade. No one asked his name. No one cared for his titles. They saw his hands, saw he worked, and that was enough. At midday, he sat beside the hearth with the family. The fire cracked, the soup boiled, and stories passed between them like salt and bread. Tales of wolves in the woods, of winter's hunger, of N. The road to Svartalfheim led downward. From the soft air and quiet endurance of Midgard, Odin descended into the depths of the world, into the dark belly of stone and memory. There was no bridge, no road, no natural passage. Only cracks, crevices in the mountains that widened just enough for a god to slip through, if he dared bend his pride to crawl. He did. The air thickened with every footfall. Daylight vanished behind him, swallowed by a tunnel that breathed cold. The walls pulsed with something ancient, something deep. Moss gave way to glistening black stone. The further he moved, the more the silence changed, from absence to presence. Pressure, not loud, but heavy. Svartalfheim was not a land one visited. It was a realm one entered and hoped to leave whole. The dwarves knew he was coming. They did not greet him. He found them not in cities, but in hollows carved by generations. Caverns like cathedrals, forgeries of fire that beat with a pulse like a forge hammer. They stood at their anvils, sparks flying like captured stars, hammers rising and falling in rhythms older than language. Their eyes flicked to him once, then returned to their work. Odin did not speak. He watched. One dwarf, broader than the others, with a beard tied in knots of iron, handed him a glowing rod of metal. Wordlessly, he pointed to the anvil. Odin took the hammer. It was heavier than it looked. He struck. Once, twice. The sound rang out, echoing through the tunnels like a challenge. The dwarves paused. Then, slowly, one by one, they resumed their work. He had been acknowledged. For 3 days, Odin worked beside them. He learned to fold metal, to channel heat, to let flame dance without devouring. He burned his fingers. He sweated. He swore. And he learned. They spoke little. But one, a woman with soot-blackened skin and eyes like molten gold, broke silence on the second night. You seek something that cannot be forged. Odin nodded. Then why are you here? To Unders. The air changed before the flames appeared. As Odin left the deep stone shadows of Svartalfheim, a warmth began to crawl beneath his cloak. Not the gentle kiss of a hearthfire, but the raw breath of a world that had never known silence. Muspelheim, the realm of flame. It did not greet him. It roared. There were no forests, no rivers, no mountains that did not burn. The ground cracked beneath each step, as if protesting his presence. The sky hung heavy with smoke and ash, stained in permanent crimson. Fire leapt from fissures in the land like serpents, hissing, striking, retreating. And beyond the walls of molten stone and heat-shimmered horizons, shadows moved, titanic shapes, born of lava and rage. The fire giants. They did not speak. They watched. Odin walked without hesitation. His boots scorched. His cloak curled at the edges. Sweat rolled down his spine. The feather from Alfheim, once tucked safely near his heart, now seemed to smolder inside him. Muspelheim did not kill quickly. Tested. Every gust of wind was a blade. Every breath a challenge. He walked for hours, or days. Time here was impossible to measure. The sun did not rise or fall. The light came from the earth, not the sky. His feet bled. His lips cracked. Still he pressed forward. At last, he reached a plateau, a flat expanse of obsidian ringed in flame. There he found him, Searcher. The fire giant stood motionless, like a mountain crowned in fire. His blade, larger than any ship, rested point down in the molten earth, hissing as if it thirsted for worlds. Searcher said nothing, neither did Odin. They simply stared. Then Searcher raised his hand. Flame erupted not toward Odin, but around him. A circle of fire. A test. Do you seek to conquer? A voice boomed, not aloud, but inside Odin's skull. No, Odin answered. I seek to endure. The flames grew taller. Do you seek power? I seek what lies beneath it. Searcher stepped forward. The earth trembled. The air screamed. To endure. After the fire came the cold. Odin left the scorched paths of Muspelheim with smoke still clinging to his skin, and walked into the breathless silence of Niflheim. No borders marked its beginning, only absence. Absence of warmth, of noise, of color. Here even thought slowed. The air bit into his bones. It did not sting, it hollowed. Frost clung to his beard before he realized he was cold. His breath vanished before his eyes, not in steam but in stillness. Time itself froze. Niflheim was not death. It was what remained when even death was quiet. The land lay flat, endless. Snow did not fall. It simply existed. Sky and earth bled into one pale canvas. Mountains loomed like ghosts, blurred by distance and fog. Nothing moved. Not bird, not beast, not wind. Odin walked alone. Each step made no sound. There were no stars, only cold. He wandered not for hours, but for absence. A measureless stretch where movement lost meaning. His feet left no prints. His shadow faded. He was becoming not invisible but unanchored. He began to forget his name, not entirely, but like a word left too long on the tongue. It lost its edge. He remembered stories, but not why they mattered. He remembered his sons, but not the weight of love. He remembered power, but felt no need to wield it. He sat on a rock, or perhaps it was a hill, or ice. He closed his eye. Silence wrapped him, and within it he heard breath, not his, not anyone's, the breath of the void itself. It did not speak. It did not judge. Simply was. He let it in. He let it chill his marrow. Let it smother the burning coal in his chest. Let it touch the seed planted in his soul. Nothing grew, but nothing died. He drifted. He saw a river, black, unmoving. He saw a woman, tall, pale, faceless. She said nothing, but he felt her name, Hel. Not the goddess, not the realm. The truth beneath them both. She did not welcome him. She did not reject him. She observed, and he understood. He had come not tea. The winds had no name here. Odin stood before a tree whose trunk could not be measured and whose crown vanished into the clouds. Roots like serpents sprawled in every direction, threading through time, through memory, through everything. Yggdrasil, the world tree, not myth, not metaphor, truth. He did not speak. The bark pulsed gently beneath his fingertips, older than any god, more enduring than any realm. He breathed, and the tree breathed back. Visions poured into him, not images but essences. He felt the laughter of the first dawn, the morning of a realm now forgotten, the spark when Muspelheim touched Niflheim, birthing the great mist of creation. His knees gave way. He knelt, not out of reverence, but because the weight of knowing had no other response. Yggdrasil showed him the strands, threads woven not in straight lines, but spirals and knots. No fate was fixed. No path was permanent, but everything was connected. Every act echoed. Every loss mattered. Every kindness, too. A squirrel darted along a branch high above. Ratatoskr, the messenger, paused, looked down at him, then disappeared. From the roots below, a soft rumble stirred. Not danger, not warning, just reminder. Odin rose. His eye watered, not from pain, but from the swell of memory. He had left much behind. Sons, sins, songs. Some would never return. Others had never truly left. He approached the base of the tree and saw a small hollow, barely large enough to fit a hand. Without hesitation, he placed his palm into it. Light surged not outward, but inward. He saw himself before the spear, before the throne, before the name All-Father. just a seeker, one who asked why. And now, the tree asked him in return, "What have you become?" He did not answer aloud. He let the silence speak. And Yggdrasil listened. The bark grew warmer. The wind stilled. And Odin knew he was no longer walking alone. The tree moved with him. The worlds watched with him. He had passed through flaw. There are endings that are not ends. There are journeys that do not circle back, but expand, until they touch the edges of things that cannot be spoken. Odin stood again on the cliff where it all began. The wind that greeted him now carried scents of every realm. Ash, frost, salt, moss, iron, and even the stillness of Niflheim. It was not the wind of a place, but of memory. In his hand, nothing remained. No feather, no flame, no coal. Only his palm calloused, warm, open. The ravens came first, Hugin and Munin. They circled once, then landed, one on each shoulder. They did not speak. They didn't need to. He had become their story. Then came the wolves, Jerry and Freki, moving beside him like shadows made flesh. They did not growl. They simply waited. The stars blinked overhead, slower now, like they too had witnessed enough. And above them all, Bifrost shimmered in silence, not as a bridge, but as a thread of light woven across worlds. He could cross it, but he did not. Not yet. He turned his gaze toward Midgard. Fires still burned. Hands still reached for warmth. Children still dreamed. And in that fragile persistence, he saw the true reason for the journey. Not power, not prophecy, but presence. To walk the worlds, not to rule, but to remember them. He sat at the cliff's edge, closed his eye, listened. The sound of breath, of tree roots drinking in silence, of the cosmos turning slowly, and somewhere far off laughter, perhaps his own, perhaps not. He did not need to know. The world did not need more gods. It needed witnesses. He opened his eye, and spoke not a word. But the world listened anyway, and that was enough.